Bring me on, tomato out of here, and we are ready to go. Comb the hair a little bit. Yeah, whatever. We got to get a haircut. We got to get a few things done. But here's what we do need to know also is that, wow, we learned what we know. Sometimes it's the greatest confidence builder of them all. Learning what it is that we know. Yeah, some of that stuff is behind me. We're going to put more stuff behind me too. Very excited about that. Really, really cool. So here is the thing. And I think we're going to make this one a little bit quicker today. We're in front of a 3-day weekend. It's July 4th weekend. Hopefully, hopefully the weather holds together in your area. I don't think it's going to hold together over here in the New York, Long Island area. Looks like we may get a little bit of rain. Actually, may get a big amount of rain. Perhaps that's going to be a shot over here to learn how to use the camera again with capturing raindrops. Something else to kind of focus on. But here was the thing: I attended a I attended a well, it's not a conference. It was a Zoom call, and it was sponsored by the NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association, and they had one of their announcers on over there. And the idea behind that was, how do you become a better drag racing announcer? Now, very diversified crowd. You had some. I see there was a couple of kids on there. There was a number of folks on there that were uh, racing cars themselves. There was a one guy in particular. One guy in particular. He does his own radio show, and it's all about automotive. So he knows all the stuff, all the stuff. So between these folks that were there that had all this knowledge, the question is, how do they become better drag racer announcers? And I'm thinking, wow, I got such a learning curve ahead of me. I got to learn everything about the cars, about how the tires impact grip the roadway or grip the raceway, size of engines, car makes, models. Honestly, I can't recognize half of them. I'm thrilled when it comes up on the information sheet as to what kind of car it is. Sometimes I do have a bit of a excuse, we'll say, because then they're doing the burnout and you get the smoke from the tires. I can't see the car number. So if it's on the screen, it's good. I don't have to see. I could just read off the machine. But here's what I learned. And this you could apply to every audience that you do. It's not about you. Yeah, that's right. It's not about you. It's not about your brilliance. It's not about your in depth knowledge. It's not about any of that stuff. None of it. Zero. Zero. It's about the audience. It always is about the audience, each and every time. Every time, it's all about the audience. And isn't that really, truly important? Right? It's not what you know, is it can you convey what you know? Can you convey what's appropriate to the audience? Can you entertain the audience? Because ultimately, that's what the track announcer became. Other than that, there's the scoring sheets. You get to see the boards. You get to see all the rest of that stuff. And if you really, really know and you're part of the pit crew, you're there. You got all that stuff. You're not waiting for the announcer to say anything. So who are you talking to? Who's your audience? Big questions. Big questions. I want to play a video over here. Somewhat related. Maybe not 100%, but somewhat related. Arthur Germain. Arthur was interviewed by Jay Oliver. This goes back to the HIA trade show a couple of months ago, and this is 2022. And he and Jay were chatting, and it was one of these things where maybe you could figure out who the audience is and what they were really talking about when it came to the audience and how trade shows have changed a little bit and how all that impacts. And then we're going to tie it together. We're going to tie the whole thing together with what I have picked up on and how I'm going to be able to improve my skills announcing something that honestly I'm just not that knowledgeable about, but I'm having a good time. So what's more important? Having a good time, being knowledgeable, entertaining the audience. Let's go see. All right, let's go. What do you say, Arthur? Let's scoot over here. We'll get you on the screen Going to Chrome tab, Brad Tilling podcast with Arthur Germain. There they are. You could see them. This 5-minute video here. Let's play it. Ladies and gentlemen, Arthur Germain, Principal and Chief Brand Teller for Brand Telling, and Jay Oliver, host, the morning host on LI News Radio. He is the morning anchor. And here they are. And this is from the HIA trade show in 2022.
Well, Arthur Germain,
Hey,
Brand Telling. Holy mackerel, you look phenomenal. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. You too. You look like you're tan. You live in some place where there's some sun.
I try to stay out of it. How do you stay out of the sun in Florida?
Yeah, you can't. You can't. You have to stay underground all day long, right? So what do you think? People in person again? I've been seeing people running up and hugging one another because they haven't been able to do that for 2 years, Jay.
It's phenomenal. I mean, I've seen people here. Mike and I came in earlier, 2 fans of the show at registration. It's good seeing people here. I mean,
It is.
You know, you think about the last couple of years, pandemic, scaled back, right? They had it in another location, you know.
I know. And I think people have had that kind of virtual or Zoom fatigue, you know.
Yep.
They really do want to get in person. I find that the younger crowd, the millennials, are having to learn, okay, you can shake hands, but don't use the Purell until you're away from the person. Don't do it in front of them. So
I'm telling you. How now you're so involved with business and marketing and helping businesses thrive. It's got to be a breath of fresh air from what you were going through a couple of years ago with clients. And now all of a sudden it's like
I see
we
things,
can breathe again.
Yeah, I see things opening up. People want to talk and look. And at Brand Telling, we're helping companies to establish, strengthen, and promote their brand stories. And one of the things that we're trying to figure out is, how did the pandemic affect you? And it may be that during the pandemic, you know, you had the opportunity to acquire another company, or maybe you merged with another company, and that changed your brand story. And so we are seeing some of that. I worked recently with a company that's a second generation firm, and they're doing more than the father's firm ever did. So they kind of grew out of the name and grew out of the brand. So we help them to look and establish a better brand story. But I do, like you said, I expect to see more of that coming now as we can see people in person. And
do you find more people now are reaching out to you based on the fact, you know, listen, it's been kind of dormant. Now is the time to kind of really get the word out and everything else. I mean, it's got to be seeing a little bit of an uptick, I would think.
Yeah, I see that people are more willing to take the meeting. And, you know, we could meet on Zoom before. It just seemed to be a way to put off sometimes a meeting. And I think a lot of people, a lot of sales guys will recognize that. They'll say, yeah, I had somebody go, well, I'll think about it. But what we've seen is, now that we can get in person, and once we're in person, people like feel that's that last step. Let's move forward. Let's shake hands. Let's do something. So I think that's
find
helping.
Main Street US of A on Long Island really suffered. I mean, a lot of businesses I would think that you dealt with are no longer here, correct?
Yeah, I didn't deal with as many of the retailers. I deal more with the B2B. I did see a lot of the retailers that had to change. You know, they had to do the drop and go, kind of, you know, pick up your food or drop off your clothing or whatever it was. It's funny, I spoke with my my guy at the dry cleaner who said, you'd be surprised at the number of people came in with suits that just were like, I need all my suits, because they just sat gathering dust in the closet.
That's
for
like
a while.
me in Florida trying to get up here for New York. The cleaners are like four suits. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's $16. I don't know what's going on with the price.
Oh my God, we have prices for everything.
But everything is good. Brand Telling, you kind of rebranded yourself a little bit in that name, right?
We rebranded ourselves. We were Communication Strategy Group. We became Brand Telling. It was a term that everyone knew us for. So we adopted that as the name, and that's made a lot of sense for us. It's all made a lot of sense for the companies.
Folks, Arthur, truth be told, he's one of the foremost voices when it comes to marketing, branding, and you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah,
What year are you in now?
So I started in 2005. So
okay, so you got 17 years. Yeah. But you go back even prior to that stuff.
Yeah, I had been on both the agency and the direct side, and then before that, I was a business and technology journalist. So, you know, but I find that
so
what I do
had a
now,
little bit of this and that in the business itself.
Exactly. You know, before moving over to the dark side, as I say, I find that I do a lot of what I used to do. We'd sit around a table when I was a journalist and we say, what makes this a story? Why will anyone care about this story? You walk up and down here and look at the trade show and see, and I find sometimes the booth that has the least amount of type, they're doing the best because they really tell their story. I'm looking right across over here at Harvest Power, and I know that these guys are doing solar. They don't have a word of solar there, but they have beautiful homes with solar on the roof.
And that's where you come in.
That's it. And that's where you tell.
You see what Arthur does?
The story.
Arthur can pinpoint a mile away what could be the missing link
I try.
as far as success.
I try. I appreciate that. And then we want to get them in front of you to help tell that story and really push it forward with,
There you
with the
go.
work that you do.
Well, listen, we love you. We love having you in, and we'll have you in the studio next time at the airport.
Absolutely. Or I'll come down to Florida, whichever.
You hop on the LI News private jet.
That's it.
You'll come down to the West Palm Beach studios.
That would be
in Palm
great.
Beach Gardens. Arthur Germain, ladies and gentlemen, Brand Telling. And a website, please, for people to...
Brandtelling.com.
There you go. As easy as that. Great seeing you.
Great seeing you.
Don't be a stranger. Arthur Germain, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back. We're here with my old pal, Arthur Germain.
You back on. There we go. One more time. And you can see I did not really comb my hair in the absence of the whole thing. One of the few takeaways on that one, one of the many takeaways, we'll put it on that one, is the fact that things change, and they always do. And, Arthur has recently adopted a new change, going from communication strategy to brand telling. Is it a big change? No. It's like it's a little bit more pinpointed as to what the name of the company is. Communication Strategy Group. What is that? It's a strategy for what? Communication. Okay, I'll give you that one. But is he helping you become a better speaker? Is he helping communications with the company, stuff like that? But the brand telling, I think, is much more specific as that went. To get a little bit of a name change in there. All right. Much to learn from that. And I have, and I will, and continue to do. I'm working with Arthur now as part of the business development, side of it, which puts some pressure on me to really make sure that this strategies of success is really clear as to what that is. And I don't know. Maybe that should be changed around a little bit more. But we'll see. Right now, we're going to keep that name as that goes, make it a little more clear as we go. But let's go back. So what did we learn? One, the name should be pretty clear as to what it is. Two, it's not bad when you change up a little bit. That's good. That definitely is a good thing to do. What else? Did you hear Jay when he said, hey, you did a little bit of this and a little bit of that? We're going to use that as the tie it up here. So when I was listening to this call, I'm going to ask the question too on that one. But when I was listening to this call about becoming a more effective announcer, it was very apparent that it's all about the audience. And the questions continue to come up. It's like, how do you connect with the audience? Okay, so my level of knowledge of the sport is not as high as many of the other people were there. So how do I connect with the audience? And who really is the audience? Is it an audience that is the pit crew? It's a tough audience for me to talk to. I don't think I can do that. And I can entertain them, but I can't inform them. That's not it. Maybe I can highlight them. Maybe I can highlight them, but not, again, inform them. So how do I highlight them? A couple of ideas got shared on that. Do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Then the other idea is like, who is the audience? How do you know who the audience is? If you're sitting there on TV and you're talking to the masses, who's your audience? You still have to pick your audience, but you have to pick your audience. If you're talking about the brand of your company, you have to pick your audience. You have to decide who you're directing your message toward. Look, you don't want people calling you up about something you don't do. I know you're very helpful and all this kind of stuff. That's not the point. The point is that in a perfect world, in an effective business, perfect world, everybody that calls you wants to buy your product or hire you for your service. Perfect world. Will you ever get to a perfect world? Probably not. But you need to be clear about it. Look, you don't want people calling you about, how to buy a widget when you don't sell widgets, right? If you're a service company, not a product company, you want to be clear that you service widgets. You don't make widgets. Big difference there. Ran across that with the pool companies. Not really clear as to what it is. Bob's Pool Company. Okay, what does Bob Pool Company do? I'm thinking everything pool related. I was wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Another story, another day. I'm now learning about pools. Very exciting, I got to tell you. But if you're announcing at a track, if you're speaking to a group at a facility, if you're speaking to a class with your students, if you're going to visit students at a school, you're going to do one of these career days, or if you're going to a trade show, you now have the responsibility of knowing your audience and knowing what your objective is. Now you have to change your message to your audience. Not that you have to change what you do, you're not changing what you do, but you are going to change how you interact with them, right? So now, if you are going in there and talking about widgets, whether you sell widgets or you service widgets, and people have no idea what a widget is, you're going in there to inform them of the benefits of owning a widget, or leasing a widget, or renting a widget, or borrowing a widget from a friend, something like that. You have to inform them. You're there to inform them of widgets. And it's up to you to do it. How do you do that? Okay, let's go back. Do you do it at a high level? You do it at a low level. You know what? It's got to be relatable and understandable to the audience. It's all about the audience. What about Arthur's comment over there, or Jay's comment about Arthur? You did a little bit of this, you did a little bit of that. You know, that gives Arthur a well-rounded approach to whatever the situation is. Let's go with our widgets. Let's assume you sold widgets at one point in time, and now you're selling a service where you're servicing the widgets. What do you now know? You now know who the client is. You now know some of the issues the client would have, and you know how to address those issues and understand those issues from the client's point of view. Now, given the fact that Arthur worked at large companies, he did different aspects of the brand telling, of the story writing, of the editing of different companies that were either in marketing or just flat out papers, things like that. He gets the whole thing, which makes him very well rounded in his approach, because he could write and he could see things from the brand point of view, understands what it's like to be a business owner, gets that aspect of it, and understands the importance of finding opportunities to do a podcast, radio show, get on somebody else's radio show, and then how to interact with the host. You might want to listen to that program again, because you notice that when Jay started talking, Arthur started listening. It's not talking over each other. It's not Arthur trying to get his message out. I got to find a video that Jay and I did. It was an audio program that Jay and I did. So Jay wanted to talk about one thing, and I wanted to talk about another thing. It was like a ping pong match. I really did not want to talk to him about what he wanted to talk about. All right. He wanted to talk about my lack of knowledge of sports. Definitely wanted to focus on that. I wanted to talk about how the different booths were communicating at the HIA trade show, be it verbal, nonverbal communication, you know, what they have on tabletops and everything like that. It's like I desperately tried to steer the conversation, but even so doing, you have to pay respect to the host and try not to interrupt, because the most immediate person in that audience is him. The listeners, in this case, you know, is secondary. It's his show. It's the host show. But ultimately, he's the audience. So what about your audience? If you're going in there and you can relate to that audience in a different manner, do it. So given the fact that Arthur did different things within that industry, gives them a little bit more, or gives him more of a varied background, allowing him to relate to different situations. And here's what they told me about the drag racing thing, is that I need to get in the car. Now, I did get in the Jeep, so I did play passenger, but I also need to get into a car and be in the driver's seat and wait for that Christmas tree to go from amber, 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 green, and go, and work my way down the track, even if it takes me an hour and a half to get down there. But still need to get down there and do it and actually drive a car down there. That's one thing. The other thing was go over to the pit area, speak to the drivers, see what the cars look like from the inside out. Roll cages, seats, 5-point harnesses, anything along those lines. Engines. Do I have to talk technical? No. I got to understand who the audience is, but I also need to throw in things every once in a while because it gives me a little bit more confidence, a little bit more credibility as that goes, just like you do. See, when you're speaking to your audience, whether it be one person as a radio host, or if it be a group of people that you have met before, a group of people maybe didn't meet before, but you did have that opportunity to speak to them in advance, you need to relate to that audience. You need to understand the audience, and you need to let them know that you have the credibility to be there. I felt that when I was doing this last year, the only thing I was doing was becoming the entertainer. Poked fun at my lack of knowledge on a whole bunch of different things, just like Jay did. Poked fun at my lack of knowledge about sports when he interviewed me. Hey, granted, it was fun. Even doing the other stuff, it was fun. Definitely an enjoyable thing to do. But I'd like to continue on where I'm informing the audience. Maybe I could grow with that audience, and maybe the audience can grow with me. So not only do I hope to stay entertaining as we do that, but informative too. And I can help them increase their knowledge about what's going on. Instead of just many people going to a track, want to see the track. And as I promoted last year, oh, you got to go down there, bring the kids, bring your camera. Why? Because you get to take pictures of the pretty cars as they're going down the track. The paint schemes are really colorful. Mufflers, that noise for the kids. It's a fun day. It is a fun day. And the food trucks are there. Right. It's a fun day. It's a fun day. If I said it's a fun day a million times, well, I definitely probably did because I focused on that aspect. One of the other things I find interesting about it, is the fact that how does the reaction time factor into things? How about the traction of the cars going down? The purposes of the burnout as that happens? The information that they get on the ticket as they come back on their details of the race of their run that they get back, no tickets. They get back about the speed at different distances down the track. How about all that stuff? Yeah, I think that stuff is interesting. And I'm thinking if I find it interesting, maybe other people do too. The question is, do they? We got to find out to speak to the audience. So here were the suggestions that I was given. And then I bring this up with you because I think that you could benefit from this too. Not if you're going to go announce a race someplace or anything like that, but what if you do announce for a nonprofit event? Don't you want to know what's going on? Don't you want to understand some of the programs, some of the people that are there, the volunteers, the recipients, the folks that are benefiting from that nonprofit, and then the people that are running different programs? It's the same thing, different topic. I get it. But if you're up there emceeing and you want to be the best MC, you don't want to just do the countdown before everybody starts to walk. You don't just want to bring the name of a person up on stage. You want to bring the person, the personality of that person up on stage. You want to bring up not the president. You want to bring up the president that's been there for 10 years, that has worked their way through different committees, that is really very hands-on with what they're doing, that's been interacting with different fundraising grants, helping out people, helping their committee chairs become as effective as they are. You're going to get that from just reading a script? No, you are not. You're going to get that by being involved a little bit. A little bit. Figure out how involved you are. And granted, if it's a nonprofit that you just are being asked to come in and MC because you like emceeing, you could still do that. You don't have to do weeks worth of research. You just need to get there early. Speak to the people that have asked you to MC that thing. Find out from them who the key people really are. Who's the most enthusiastic committee chair is? Who is the one that has been with the company the longest? That's just not the president of the company. I had a board member that's actually gone through the program. That stuff is great. And that's basically what they had made the suggestion for me to do. Because my comments in this thing were many of the participants on that call were folks that drive cars, were folks that have radio shows, automotive radio shows, folks that have been in the business for 20, 30, 40 years. I'm not. I'm not. But what they suggested I do is exactly what I just suggested you do. Next time you MC a nonprofit event, next time you get involved with a nonprofit of any sort, next time you get involved with a committee at your business, next time you get an opportunity to speak in front of a group, a networking group, find out about who the key people are. Speak to them. Find out the key words to use in there. Find out who really is the driving force behind that group. Include them if you possibly can. Understand what the group is about. Is it about referrals? Is it about passing referrals? Or is it trying to really more of a coaching kind of thing, like a mastermind group? What is the purpose of the group? Find out. Do the research with the whole thing. So here's what they suggested I do for this thing. One, go to the tech area. Watch what's going on. I'm not helping. By all means, I'm staying out of the way. But watch what's going on. See what they do in the tech area. Maybe I'll pull a sentence or two, a comment or two that I could use over the time I'm sitting there announcing. Just a name. We have a couple of names of folks that are doing that. I was like, well, the folks in the tech area helped out this morning. Say, hey, Bob and Pete. Pete's been down there in that tech area, since early this morning. He's been helping out every year, whatever it might be. Makes it more personable, doesn't it? When you say the committee chair has been doing it X amount of years, makes it more personable, doesn't it? Get to know the cars a little bit more. It's going to take a little bit more of effort. A lot of these are customized cars, so that might be a challenge. But I should know some of the information there. Maybe meet a few of the drivers. Maybe when they suggest to walk around the pit area, walk around the area where the cars are lined up, getting ready to go. Maybe jot down a thing or two, about those cars. Can't write it about all of them, but write about some. Same thing with the folks that are at the food trucks. Get to know a few of them. Get to know some of the vendors if you're emceeing an event that you're just doing for the first time. You've been doing it for years. I've been doing the Crohn's Walk for years. Before I do it, always walk around, get a chance to meet the vendors, especially the ice cream, maybe even some of the other food trucks. But certainly want to get a chance to meet them. They all have stories, they all have reasons for being there. Some of them want to share the stories. Hey, you know what? You got the microphone, share the stories. It makes it more interesting for everybody else. And the last thing that I came up with was actually be a audience member. And they mentioned that too. Go on a night and sit in the audience. Make believe you're announcing, but don't. And see it from their point of view. And I'll leave you with that note. See it from their point of view. Make believe you are the person in the audience. What is it that you want to know? How is it that the person that is announcing, emceeing, leading the group, promoting their business, being on a radio show, what is it that that person could say that would connect with you, the target market or the audience member or the person that's there to enjoy themselves? What is it that they could say to you? Write that stuff down. Keep those bullet points. Because when you got the microphone, you're just talking right off the cuff. That's improv. I've heard that word before. And have yourself a darn good time. Because if you're doing an event, fundraiser or not, whatever it is, people gotta have a good time too. If you're raising money, doing your thing, people want to enjoy themselves. Make sure you do that. And that's what some of their comments back to me. Said, man, if you're having a good time, they're having a good time, and that's the way it goes. And you want to know something? I did hear that from a few people too, including the drivers, these crazy people. They're sitting there in their cars getting ready to go, and they're listening to me on the microphone. I'm making them laugh. Go figure that one out. I don't know. All right, yeah, Mike, you got it there, my friend. We'll put your comment up. It is the 4th of July weekend. A happy and safe 4th to everybody. Love some of those comments that are out there. You know what? You're right. Independence Day. You know what? Independence Day means a whole lot. It gives us a whole lot of it. The whole thing was about giving us a whole lot of freedom for us to be us. And the definition of us is a lot of people, a lot of personalities, a lot of nationalities, a lot of ethnicities, a lot of different points of view. Man, we got to get that together. That audience, the audience of the United States, needs to get itself to be an audience that's much more in line with communication skills, with moving forward, with doing the right thing. That's that. Safe 4th of July. Do the right thing too. Be safe. Watch everything that you do. Be careful out there. Don't get hurt. Don't do nothing. Weather in the Northeast doesn't look terribly good for the weekend. Monday does look good. Make the day count. All right. Enjoy. We'll see everybody on Tuesday. I think we'll be taking the day off over here on Monday. Unless Mike, I might go for a bike ride. Who knows? He'll bring the camera. All right. Let's bring back the tomato. Let's bring back the music. I love this music stuff here. All right. Where did the music go? That's under brand. There we go. Rock music. Woo! Enjoy.